It was a Thursday night, or maybe Friday morning. I can never remember exactly. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, trying to distract myself from the silence of the apartment. The city outside was quiet, more so than usual. Most people were asleep, and the streets were empty except for the occasional car passing by. The kind of quiet that feels heavier than it should, like the building itself is holding its breath. I had just finished a long day at work and wasn't expecting anything to happen. I had lived in this apartment for over 2 years, and nothing unusual had ever occurred. The neighbors were quiet, friendly enough, and security was decent. But that night, everything felt different. The air felt heavier. Every creak in the building sounded louder than it should. I had set my phone on silent, but the glow from the screen lit up my face. I felt cozy under the blankets, tucked in as if the world outside couldn't reach me. I tried to focus on a podcast, something mundane, to ease my mind. That's when I heard it, soft but deliberate. A knock. Not on my door, not downstairs, right at the apartment door. The one I had double-checked was locked before bed. My heart skipped a beat. I froze immediately, waiting for another sound. There was nothing, only the hum of the refrigerator and the faint buzz of the heater. I tried to convince myself it was someone upstairs, or maybe the maintenance guy, but the sound had come from my door. I knew it. I sat up slowly, my mind racing. My apartment is on the 3rd floor, so the chances of someone just wandering in seemed slim. I reached over and grabbed the baseball bat I keep next to my bed. The knock came again. This time, more insistent, heavier, the kind of knock that shakes the door slightly. My stomach dropped, and I could feel my pulse in my throat. Whoever was out there knew I was home. I didn't hear footsteps approaching the building. I didn't hear a window sliding open. Nothing except that knock. I whispered to myself that I had to stay calm. I peeked through the peephole. Darkness. The hallway was empty, dimly lit by the emergency lights. No shadow moved. The building was silent. Too silent. I thought about calling the police. I wanted to, desperately, but what would I say? Someone knocked on my apartment door? That sounded ridiculous. And yet something inside me screamed that this was serious. I gripped the bat tighter, and then it happened. The knob rattled. Slowly. Not violently. Just enough to let me know someone was trying. My heart jumped into my throat. I stepped back and listened. There was no sound of shoes, no footsteps in the hall, nothing. Just the rattling knob. I whispered my own name under my breath, almost hoping someone would answer, but there was only the soft click of the lock. Whoever was outside seemed patient, deliberate. I couldn't see them. I couldn't hear them. I couldn't even imagine what they looked like. I tried to calm myself, thinking maybe it was a prank. Someone had copied my keys? But I live on the 3rd floor. How would someone even get in quietly? The questions raced through my mind faster than I could process. Then the knock came again. Louder, more insistent. I couldn't stand still any longer. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. My voice was shaking as I whispered my address to the operator. I explained quickly that someone was trying to enter my apartment. The operator instructed me to stay quiet and stay on the line. The knob rattled again. This time, there was a pause after each turn. Slow, measured, almost deliberate. I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my body. My hands were shaking, but I gripped the bat tightly, ready to defend myself. Minutes felt like hours. I couldn't see anything through the peephole except the dark hallway. No shoes, no shadow, just the faint flicker of the emergency light. And yet I could hear the subtle movement at the door, the knob rattling, the occasional knock. I whispered to the operator that I could hear it. She stayed calm and told me to stay on the line. I tried to control my breathing, but every sound in the hallway made me jump. My mind kept imagining every possible scenario, and none of them ended well. Then it stopped. Everything went silent. No knocks, no rattling, nothing. My heart was still racing, and I could hear my own breathing. The operator asked if she wanted her to send someone. I said yes. I stayed on the line, gripping my bat. About 5 minutes later, I heard the faint sound of footsteps in the hallway. Then a voice, a neighbor's voice, asking if everything was okay. Relief washed over me, but the tension didn't leave. The police arrived shortly after. They checked the building, the stairwells, every apartment. No one was there. No signs of forced entry. Nothing. The officers told me that sometimes people in the building might play pranks, or that it could be a wiring issue with the doorbell or security system. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to calm my mind. But I knew what I heard. I knew what I felt. Someone was at my door.
After they left, I checked the locks, checked the pee-hole, and double-checked everything again. Nothing was out of place. The night passed slowly. Every creak of the building, every car passing by made me flinch. I didn't sleep. I stayed awake until the sun came up. The next morning, I walked around my apartment. Everything looked normal. The door was intact, the locks were fine, no signs of forced entry. And yet the memory of the rattling knob, the knocks, and the sheer presence outside my door lingered. Weeks went by. Life returned to normal, mostly. I still double-checked the locks at night. I still kept my phone and the bat next to me, and sometimes, when the city was quiet, I would hear a knock in my mind, faint but deliberate, reminding me that that night wasn't over. I have never found out who or what was at my door. I don't know if it was someone testing the locks, a prankster, or something else entirely. I don't even know if they knew I was home or if it was random. All I know is that someone or something tried to enter my apartment at 4 a.m., and I was completely alone. Since then, I sleep with the door double-locked, lights on, phone nearby. Every sound in the building makes me tense. Every knock, real or imagined, sends a wave of fear through me. Even now, months later, I can't forget that night. The feeling of someone trying to get in while I was alone in the dead of night is still vivid in my mind. I don't know if I'll ever feel completely safe in my apartment again. And every time I hear a faint noise at night, I check the door. Always. Because I know, even if nothing is there now, that night proved someone or something was capable of being right outside my door, waiting.
It was late, past midnight, and I was sitting alone in my apartment. The city outside was quiet, unusually quiet for a Thursday night. Normally I'd hear distant traffic or the faint hum of neighbors, but this night was still. The kind of still that makes every creak and groan feel louder than it should. Every small noise made my heart race. I had been scrolling through my phone, trying to distract myself from the oppressive silence. The apartment felt empty, hollow, almost as if it were waiting. The lights were dim, only a small lamp on the couch illuminating the room. I felt uneasy, though I couldn't explain why. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Then I saw it. A shadow moved. Not like a curtain swaying, but deliberate, fast, smooth, near the hallway leading to the bedrooms. My stomach sank. The hallway was empty. The apartment had only me in it. No one could have been there. I froze, staring at the spot where the movement had occurred. My mind raced through logical explanations, a reflection, my imagination, fatigue, but nothing fit. Whatever I had seen moved too purposefully. I grabbed a heavy book from the shelf and walked slowly toward the hallway, trying to control my breathing. Each step felt louder than it should, echoing in the silent apartment. The hallway was empty, bedrooms closed, bathroom door closed. Nothing. Yet the feeling remained. Something unseen was there. I returned to the living room, but the movement appeared again, this time near the kitchen doorway. Fast, smooth, deliberate. I could feel the weight of it, though I couldn't see it. Panic set in. I considered calling a friend or the building security, but it was too late. I was alone. I didn't know if making noise would attract it. I decided to grab my phone anyway, turning on the flashlight to scan the apartment. Still nothing. The kitchen looked normal. Every shadow fell where it should, but the feeling persisted. I was being watched. Minutes passed. The apartment remained silent. Then, in the reflection of the microwave, a figure moved behind me. I spun around, heart racing. Empty. Nothing. Completely alone. My mind screamed at me that it was impossible, yet my instincts told me it wasn't my imagination. I stepped back against the wall, trying to catch my breath. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the floor, shifting in ways that didn't make sense. I considered leaving the apartment, but I would have to descend 4 flights of stairs, leaving the doors unlocked. I felt trapped. I grabbed the bat I keep under the couch. The weight in my hands gave me a small sense of control. I scanned the room again, flashlight trembling, but everything looked normal. Everything, except for the presence I could still feel. Then the final movement happened. Near the hallway again, a shadowy blur moved quickly, deliberate,
purposeful. I couldn't see details, only that it existed, close enough that I felt it pressing into my chest. I whispered a prayer, telling myself to breathe. It didn't appear again. I stayed on the couch the rest of the night, bat across my lap, flashlight on, ears straining for the slightest sound. I didn't sleep. Every creak, every hum, every draft made my heart leap. The night was long and oppressive. Morning finally came. Sunlight spilling through the curtains made everything look normal again. I checked every corner, every room. Nothing. No signs of entry, no shadows, no footprints. My apartment was empty. Weeks later, I still see movement out of the corner of my eye. Small, fleeting, almost imagined. But I know what I saw that night. Something moved where no one should have been, and it wasn't friendly. I never stay alone past midnight anymore. I keep lights on, doors locked, phone and bat close at hand. I tell myself it was a trick of my mind, a mix of exhaustion and imagination, but deep down, I know what I saw. Something, or someone, was in my apartment that night, watching, waiting, moving where no one should have been. Even now, walking past the hallway, I feel it, that presence, that movement, and I know, without a doubt, that I was not imagining it. I just hope it never comes back.
It was late in the evening, and the house was silent. Not the calm, peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that presses against your ears and makes every small sound feel amplified. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, trying to convince myself that everything was normal. Normally, the house had its own rhythm, the refrigerator hum, the heater clicking on and off, the distant sound of traffic outside. But that night, everything had stopped. It felt unnatural, like the house itself was holding its breath. I had been home alone for a few hours. My roommates were out of town, and I liked having the place to myself usually, but this time, the emptiness felt heavy. I told myself it was just my imagination, that quiet houses can play tricks on your mind. Then I noticed it. A faint creak came from upstairs. I froze immediately. The sound was soft, deliberate, almost like someone stepping lightly across the floorboards. My heart jumped. I reminded myself I was alone. There was no reason for anyone to be in the house. I sat there, holding my phone like a shield, listening. Another creak followed, then a soft thud, like something being set down on the floor. My pulse was racing. The logical side of my brain tried to explain it, maybe the house settling, maybe a loose floorboard, but it didn't feel right. I got up slowly, trying not to make a sound. The living room felt colder now, as if the warmth had been sucked out of it. I walked toward the stairs, flashlight from my phone in hand. Each step creaked beneath me, echoing unnaturally in the silence. The upstairs hallway was empty. The bedrooms were all closed, nothing disturbed. I checked quickly, opening doors cautiously, but the rooms were exactly as I had left them. Nothing. No one. I breathed a little easier, convincing myself it was just nerves. Maybe I had imagined the creaks. Maybe the house really was settling. But then I heard it again. A soft whisper. It wasn't my name, not quite, just a low, unintelligible murmur coming from the direction of the guest room. I froze. My mind raced. There was no one there. The room was empty, the door closed. I told myself I was imagining it, but the whisper had sounded deliberate. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep under my bed and approached the room slowly. Each step felt heavy. The house was completely silent, except for my own breathing. I pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. I opened it cautiously. Empty. My heart was hammering. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to calm down, telling myself I was being irrational, but the silence felt wrong now, like it was pressing in from all sides. I could feel it in my chest, the tension in my shoulders. Something was not right. Minutes passed. Every sound, the creak of the floor, the hum of the fridge, felt too loud, too deliberate. The air felt thicker, colder. My eyes kept darting toward shadows that weren't really there. I told myself to breathe, to rationalize, but my body refused to listen. Then I saw it.
A shadow moved across the hallway, fast, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. My stomach dropped. I knew what I had seen. Someone, or something, was upstairs. But how? The doors were all locked from the inside. I was alone. I didn't move. I couldn't. My hands shook, gripping the bat tightly. The shadow didn't appear again, but I could feel its presence, watching, waiting. The silence in the house was suffocating now, almost tangible, like it was pressing against me, waiting for me to act. I spent the rest of the night on the couch, flashlight and bat in hand, listening to every small noise, unable to sleep. When the sun finally rose, everything looked normal. The rooms were empty, nothing disturbed, but the feeling remained. Even now, weeks later, the silence in my house sometimes feels wrong, too heavy, too quiet, and I know, without a doubt, that night was real. Something moved where no one should have been. I never stay alone after dark anymore. I leave the lights on, I keep my phone close, and every time the house grows quiet, I feel that same sense of unease, that same pressure, and I remember that night. The silence in my house felt wrong, and I know why.